Hey guys, this is Coach Rob here from Athletic Strength Club. I'm here with the Move, Lift, Play podcast. Today is episode 5, where we're going to discuss the basics of strength training, primarily how to format a program or how to frame your thinking for programming. With me, as always, are Coach Kyle and Coach Anthony to discuss this topic. Hope we can provide some value, give you some insights into the way we think and what's going on the back end when we're planning out what lifts you'll be doing. And for those of you who don't work with us, hoping to give you some insights into how to plan for yourselves and how to adapt a new program and maybe figure out where your next steps are. So first thing we wanted to start with was framing a program, right? You need to think about where you are now and where you are going. These are the two most important pieces. So where you are now includes a lot of pieces. This includes your training experience. When did you train last? Your age, lifestyle, what's your diet like? How well do you sleep? How often do you sleep? How long do you sleep? What's your stress like? Joint mobility and health, excuse me. So how healthy are your joints? Do you have any injuries we need to factor in? Stuff like that. Then your time to train weekly. Are you going to train 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week? All different variables that can be factored into your training and how you should be programming and thinking about yourself. Anything else you guys want to throw in here?
No, I think that's a great basis to start. You know, you have to, before you even think about your exercises, what you're doing, you have to know where I am now, where I'm going. Exactly. Well said. Yeah. Anything from you?
Second that. Yeah. It's really, as you're getting in the gym, we got to remember, keep it simple, especially if we haven't been there. So it's, assess where you're at and just step foot in the gym first. I think that's the most important part. Step foot in the gym, have a conversation with your coach, and then we could take it from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Beautiful. I did leave out equipment and training space though. What are you working with? Very important. I like the stepping into the gym for sure. But also maybe you train at home. What kind of equipment do you have? Maybe some of your goals require new equipment. Do you have money to invest in that new equipment, or are you just sticking with what you've got and you're happy to keep training with, keep the status quo, whatever you have right now. All right. So we summed up where you are now. Where are you going? This is your big picture goal. So overall, what are you trying to accomplish in life and in your training? What are you training for and towards? So big picture, you might, all right, I want to stay healthy. I want to get stronger. I want to get faster, et cetera, et cetera. But big picture sometimes is too big, right? A lot of people want everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make every training program cover everything, and you're not going to excel at anything if you try to do everything at the same time. So we always need to dial down and focus and be like, all right, what's my specific goal for this 6 to 12 weeks? I want to increase my bench by 10 pounds. I want to increase my deadlift by 5 pounds. I want to sprint 1 second faster in 100 meters. Just random examples, right? And then you have to figure out how you're going to plan all that out. So you can have main goals, you can have sub goals, and you could have sub goals, not to get too complicated. And then you have to think about, why are you doing this? So how do I stay focused on what I'm doing? You need a mindset that is like, training has to be at the top of your mind every day to some extent. I mean, there's not a day I don't wake up and think, what am I training and when am I training next? And what's my day going to look like? Like, I hope you guys, probably pretty similar for you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I woke up today and it's a rest day and I was like, what am I doing tomorrow? I can't wait.
Whenever I have a program drawn out for myself, I can't help but whether it's when I wake up in the morning or, after I finish a lift, I'm just like, I'm looking at what's, what I might be looking at next week or next month to be like, yo, I'm stoked for that.
Exactly.
So everything's building towards, the eventual, but when you're excited about what you're doing, it makes it a lot better. So I think, finding a place in a system that you think is fun is another, nobody steps into ASC and, is opposed to the, doing kettlebell training or lifting with a barbell. Most of them find it to be really exciting and really fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that, it gives you something to look forward to.
I think that highlights a really good point, is whether you're making a program for yourself or if you're a coach making it for somebody else. keeping things in there that they genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
You're going to have really quality exercises that a lot of people dislike, or, split squats, sleds, like things that are extremely good for you. Not everyone loves them, but they're necessary to have in there. But for the most part, you want to keep exercises in there that keep people excited about coming in. Or, even for myself, I have a love-hate relationship with like split squats and stuff. They are brutal, but when I see them on the program, I'm like, I can't wait to do them. While you're doing them, it sucks. But, it's important to have exercises that are very good, a very good bang for your buck, but also keeping things that people genuinely are excited about for yourself or for people you're coaching.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. That's what
Bingo.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
No dessert without the important stuff.
Yeah,
right?
but we like dessert. We like dessert. We like the bicep curls and stuff like that. We love it.
I think another thing, like you said earlier, keeping it simple. A lot of people, they have so many goals, or maybe you have one certain goal, but you format a program. I want to increase my bench press, but now I'm going to put bench press in, let's say day one, bench press, then dumbbell flat press. And like, you might have like 4 of the same exercises. Like you're trying to do so much where you're just like, you got to really look at it and go, all right, I'm not giving 100% effort to all 4 of these, take 2 of those out, keep 1 and 2 in there and give 100% effort to 2 of those. You're going to make much better gains from keeping it more simple than putting, more exercises, not always better.
Not always the way.
So, have your goal in mind. And notice that the exercise you put in there, you got to bring intensity to them, and that's the true way to get better.
That's a great point. And it's a great time for me to kind of butt in about the fundamental movement patterns, and kind of when I'm structuring a program, whether it be 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or 5 days a week, I'm making sure that we're hitting each of them once. So when I refer to the fundamental movement patterns, I'm talking about squat, hinge, lunge, vertical and horizontal press, vertical and horizontal pull, a twist, and a carry. All right. And that's great for you guys at home that might be, structuring your workouts on your own. Whatever your microcycle is, it doesn't have to be a week, but a week is easy, because we're all on the same schedule. Yeah. It's just easy to say, but optimally you want to be hitting one of those, at least one time a week, one of those movement patterns. You see a lot of people, they get in the gym, and like Kyle just said, they're doing barbell bench press, and then, they got dumbbell bench press, and then they got chest flies, and then they got incline bench press. It's like which I'm guilty of when I first started training and kind of programming for myself.
We all are.
You're kind of doing the same thing kind of doing the same thing over and over again there. Less is going to be more. Put more effort into training one movement. Focusing on the pattern, that's why I always talk, it's movements over muscles, in my opinion.
Agree. Yeah. That's your first tier. Muscles. You could think about secondary, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Should be muscle. There should be patterns first.
Certainly.
Muscles second. Right?
I think that, that comes with the goals too, because like a bodybuilding stance, their main goal is targeting a strict muscle.
That's very true.
But I think at the same time, it's very important to know how many days am I doing a chest day? Because if you have 2 chest days in there, don't cram 5 chest exercises one day. Go, all right, I'm going to pick 2 of these that are different. So maybe a barbell flat press and an incline dumbbell press, 2 different angles, hitting the chest, and you move on to something else. But and then your day 2, you can put 2 other moves that you didn't do on day 1 that you wanted to cram it all together, right? Spread them out across the week. So now you're hitting 2 other moves, right? You're getting it all in there. You're keeping some variety, but you're able to really target the intensity.
You got the training
of each
days,
move.
so spread it out. Yeah.
Great opportunity to talk about splits.
I want to jump back on something you said before, though. I just think that was a great point about the fundamental movement patterns, and just like it's almost like a checklist you go through every time you're writing a program. Like,
absolutely.
Do I have a push? Do I have a pull? Do I have a hinge? Do I have a squat? Do I have a single leg? Do I have a single leg squat or lunge? Maybe even do I have a single leg hinge, single leg deadlift, kickstand deadlift, stuff like that. But like I think sometimes you see people program and it's like, they're missing these patterns, and maybe you can miss them for a while, but like you can't have no lunges in for 6 months. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need something single leg. Exactly right. You need a split squat or a lunge or it's like run through that checklist every time you write a program and double check what you're doing.
Something I hear frequently is, when we make people do lunges, they say, who invented lunges? I said, you ever walk up the stairs? You ever take a step? It's those. That's why they're called the fundamental movement patterns, is because that's literally what you do all the time. Yeah. And that's why we train them.
Yep.
Exactly. Extremely important to have. Yeah. No doubt. Splits. What are you guys' thoughts on when you're making a program split wise? that come back to the individual's goals, maybe how much time they have,
That's it.
that style of thing.
I think that's the first thing you're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
right? How much
Yeah.
time are we training? 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 days, 5 days? I
Right.
mean, those are all. That's like the biggest
Mhm.
first thing. If you're only training 1 day a week, I don't know why you're doing that, but maybe that's all you can do. Then what are we doing? We're not really doing a split. We're just doing
1 day a week.
everything as much as we can in that day.
Exactly.
But hopefully you're doing a minimum of 2 days where you're running through some sort of
Yeah.
split.
My favorite split personally, well, number one, I really like training full body.
Mhm.
Full body, I think is amazing no matter what level you're at in your training journey. Just doing full body, whether that be 3,
agree.
4, 5 days a week.
Mhm.
Maybe you just do it simply every other day. You
Mhm.
get that day in between to recover. But when I'm very partial to the upper lower split.
Yeah,
where
it's
I'm not,
awesome.
when like I just said, movements over muscles. That gives me the opportunity to focus, really have my checklist down of these are the movements I want to hit. And then I get that next day to rest, those movements. Then so I'll go upper, lower, rest, upper, lower, maybe a full body for fun on a Saturday.
Mhm.
Or, just a crazy arm workout or something like that. And, include a fun day in there
Yeah,
sometimes.
gotta have some fun in there.
Yeah.
Fun days are fun exercises.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
I love the upper lower split. Found that I've seen a lot of people make great progress on that. Push pull legs, another great option. Particularly, that's pretty popular these days in the bodybuilding type of sphere. What are you guys running right now?
I'm doing upper lower, just
Yeah.
like that. Yep, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Everything else is a rest day. But I think it's a good time to also say that there's no perfect split either.
Mhm.
I think that can be
Without
one of
a
the
doubt.
most overwhelming things when you're new to making a program, or you don't know where to start. It's go through your checklist of my time, all those things that we just talked about. But you also have to realize what split works best for you might not work great for someone else, and something that works for someone else might not work for you.
Mhm.
So, if you hear someone saying upper, lower, and you sit there going, I can't do 4 days a week, or I can't make that work, realize, all right, there's another split out there for me that's
Yep.
going to work much better for me.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to note too. Nothing is 100%
Absolutely.
the best. But yeah, I think I really like upper lower. I've done the push pull legs, in the past, but I think as you become a more advanced lifter, it starts putting a big toll on your body. It depends what you're doing as well, but I think 6 days a week is a lot. I used to do 7 days a week when I was younger, and I look back and I'm like, I can't. I don't even know how I did that.
Recovery time is
So
important.
work,
Yeah.
train hard, recover harder. So always leave yourself time to recover. But yeah, upper lower is a really nice one. I agree.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, most of the time I'm full body because I usually do 3 days a week these days. But yeah, I've done pretty much all the splits. But I'm a big fan of full body in it as often as I can.
Yeah.
But I'm also in a spot right now where it's like my strength is like somewhat secondary to conditioning and some of my other goals and longevity. But I think with whatever split you're doing, I think it's also important to have the thoughts of like, one, what is your goal? And two, am I staying healthy while I'm working towards this goal, which can come down to recovery and can come down to, am I working the same muscle groups all the time? Am I getting tight in other muscle groups or am
absolutely.
I losing mobility, stuff like that, right?
And that's a great point, like you mentioned before, about sub goals and stuff like that. Like, and what you just said about there's no perfect split. Why could you not, if you're recovering well and if you're progressing towards your goals and you're like, you know what, I just want to hit a nice chest workout. You could do full body 3 days a week, and then you come in on just an
extra day.
Yeah, whenever you feel
I
good.
do that sometimes.
And you just hit a nice chest workout, get out of there, feel good, and get back to your regular training.
Yep.
Exactly.
Being adaptable and thinking about, hey, here's something else I might want to do. Here's something else that might be fun.
Yep. Body feels good. I'm ready to go. Let me try something out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just do that because we're coaches. So like we got the water bag and I was like, I had a day, I had a free hour, somebody canceled. And I was like, I'm just going to throw a workout together and mess around with this water bag. Got a couple other things I haven't done in a while. And like, let me just go have some fun and do some experiments.
It's the way to do it.
Right? Yeah, it's great. It's
Absolutely. That's another huge part, being adaptable.
Yep,
you know,
being
like
adaptable.
being ready to
Reliable,
move on the
adaptable.
fly. You know, you're going to have some days where maybe something doesn't feel right, or you feel like your body's in the gutter.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, all right, I got to dial this session back. Or maybe,
That's right.
hey, I'm going to move this session tomorrow. I'm going to take a rest day today. You know, but you don't want to get in the habit of always like, I don't feel like working out today. I'm going to move my session.
Yeah.
But it's like, my body's wrecked today. I'm taking a day off, or I'm taking this a very light recovery type session where I get the moves through, but I'm letting my body a lot less volume intensity than what I did previous. You know, let yourself get back up to normal.
Mm-hmm. That requires a lot of accountability, you know, because
self-awareness.
And you don't want to get into the mode of like, anytime I don't feel 100%, I'm going to take a rest day.
You're going to have days.
But and the longer you train, the more you communicate, whether it be with yourself, with the people in your group of like, you know, sometimes people come in, they're just like, not feeling it today. I'm like, all right, let's drop the weight by 10%.
Exactly.
Go through the same movements with focus and intensity, where you're going to recover better from it.
For sure.
You know,
sometimes you don't feel like it. You don't feel well. You start warming up and like blood gets flowing. You do a set, and the next thing you know, you're like, I actually feel pretty good today.
Yeah.
Like it was just, who knows what it was. You just need to get some blood flowing.
100%.
You need to get your body lit up, and you're ready to go. Right.
I find myself, I have that a lot, where I wake up in the morning and, you know, you just wake up, you're still a little groggy, you know, but then I have my breakfast, I get my water in, and then I go downstairs, I hop on the bike and I just start pedaling. Now all of a sudden my body's not as stiff. I feel looser. I'm ready to go, you know, and
sometimes
then all of a
you
sudden,
just got to go to the bathroom.
Sometimes, exactly. Yeah. But not you're going to have some bad days through a program. That's why you got to be adaptable, ready to go. But, you know, some days you just got to train through. You got to push through with what you got. Yeah.
And and some days you've got more than you think. Just warm it up and see what happens, or drop the weight. But I think even on those days where you feel really bad, like maybe you don't go into training, but maybe you just go move for a bit. Because maybe you just need that movement. I mean, the blood flow also helps you recover faster.
Oh, yeah.
You're not feeling well. You're feeling really sore. Like super light movement is going to help get some blood flowing, get some nutrients, flush out some negative stuff, and clear you up a little bit so you're better and ready to train the next time.
I think we go right to our list again. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What do we leave out for?
We always whenever we start a program, what are the things we first think about? Like we said in the beginning, you know, how much time do I have? Any prior injuries? You know, all that. And once you get through how much time you have to train, you start to make that skeleton of your workout. All right, I have 3 days in my week: a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then how do I want to split up my days? You know, now you have to go into your experience. How experienced am I? I'm not going to put a barbell squat into my program if I have never done it. I have no idea what I'm doing. Right? Yes. Start regressed and keep it a lot lower. Right? Definitely undershoot your volume and intensity, then overshoot it all. Always. Right? Don't go, hey, I'm going to do 5 sets of 10 on squats. I haven't done squats in 3 months, you know, or something like that.
Yep.
And I'm going to do 50 reps today on squats. You're going to be shot, you know, with you don't even.
You're not going to want to train ever again.
Exactly. You know, you're going to be smoked for the whole week.
Yeah.
So start small with everything. Start small with all your dosages on your volume, your intensity, and you can always add more the next week. You know, Correct. But you always week 1. We've talked about it like almost a deload in a sense, just very, very moderate. You can have, if you're feeling extremely easy, bump it up during your workout. But I think the best thing to do is to keep it lower, easier to begin with, and ramp up if you have a 4-week program. Really, that 4th week is where you're leaving it all out there, and then on to the next, you know, something like that. I think the best way to start. But yeah, now into
that's the move. Yeah,
I think any scenario, you know, with your exercise selection, there's always the basics, like Anthony said before. I think that's always a great checklist to have. Moving into what exercise I want to select, but then it comes to your goals too. You know, what are your goals? And that's the thing about programming I love, because it's always super specific to what you want.
Yeah.
Anyway, somebody can have very similar goals, but it's going to be specific for each individual. You know, that one program is not always the same, even if the goals are very similar. You know, you might have some separate things in there for each individual or
different
for yourself.
Physiology, different age, lifestyle, training factors, skills, etc.
Recovery. You know, some people, they'll snap right back into it, be good to go the next day. Some people take 2 days to get back to 100%. So that's why you got to know yourself, know your client, whatever the scenario is, when it comes to programming too.
Yep. Know what they enjoy, what they hate, what they're going to outright refuse to do.
Yep.
Occasionally you get those. I had a mutiny this morning. It's unrelated, but the whole morning we were supposed to do sled plank relay twice.
Ooh, yeah.
They did one round and that's it. Everybody was like, we're not doing another one. I was like,
Had a revolt.
okay, I don't know. I mean, when all 5 of you were coming against me about to walk out the door, guess we're cutting it.
Oh yeah.
You
That's
should
how
have
You guys know who you are.
walked out the door, locked them in there.
Yep,
Don't
yeah.
try that on me.
Click. Straight muni at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Oh, yeah.
Even the guy who usually is quiet and doesn't even talk, he was complaining. I was like, wow, this must be bad. I've never heard him complain.
Oh,
Well, it's
That's
death
awesome.
by December.
Yeah.
What are you going to step up to
When
the
that's up on the
challenge?
board.
That's what I mean. Some of you guys
Somebody
wanted
got-
this.
yeah.
Some of you guys wanted this.
Oh,
Yeah, it was requested. What else we thinking? Timeline. I like the stuff. Also, I was just thinking a point. Sometimes if you're trying out a new exercise, you really want to go lighter than you think, because even if it's one you've done before, this just brings me a scenario. I did a Cossack squat workout after I hadn't done them for 6 months. I did what I thought was light. At first, I was going to go a little heavier, and I was like, you know what? Let me go down one size. And I'm doing it, and even while I'm doing it, I'm like, this feels a little tough, but I can manage it. I was sore for 5 days. I couldn't get up and down. I'm trying to coach people. I'm just like in so much pain. I was like, oh, I should have just went body weight for day one. Like, just go lighter than you think
That
you should.
happens to me with split squats a lot of the
Yeah.
time when I throw them back into training. It's like I haven't done these in a while, and the strength will be there, but then you know, second set in, I'm already getting sore, and I'm like, oh geez,
It's just
this
like
is
little
gonna be-
muscles that don't get used in
Yeah.
that way, or just
Yeah.
it was my freaking inner thighs.
Yep.
My
Yeah.
and the adductors they
My
take
adductors,
they
yeah,
take
smoke.
You were
so
talking about your
long.
Copenhagen's.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was another one. I even yesterday I did them yesterday, and I kept it 2 sets of 30 seconds each, because if I added another one, I'm like I might be really sore, because I also added more volume and weight on my squats and everything too. So I'm like I'm gonna
One
keep
variable
those,
at a time.
one
Low,
variable
yeah.
at a time.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm gonna keep that the same, but
Yep.
yeah, and again that comes to knowing your recovery and
Yep.
technique. And most people adductors and certain muscles take a lot longer to recover.
Yep.
Adductors are definitely one that take
Definitely.
a while. But yeah, that's again knowing yourself, knowing your clients,
Yep.
knowing what those
Yeah.
exercises
and
are gonna do
remembering
to
what
you.
the goal is. Like, I don't want to be
Exactly.
crippled. I've got other things I want to
Yeah.
do.
Right. And you know, when you're
Um,
first starting a program, you don't want to be sore for 5 days,
No.
you know, because you
Yeah.
want to be able to train again pretty soon, you
Yeah.
know, and get onto that,
At least a day or two later,
get
I'd
the
like to be
wagon
able to train
rolling.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mentioned to you guys last week when we were kind of discussing this, you know, especially with a beginner or somebody who hasn't trained in a while, like those first couple sessions, we're doing a lot of movement practice. It's not
Yeah.
about the weight.
Yeah,
It's about
100%.
it's about getting proper practice in that will translate. So we're doing everything appropriately and the correct way. We have the pattern down, and then you know we could progress that as we go. I think that's kind of what you were saying before about you know getting it, you know, starting off kind of easy in that little bit of deload mode, but mastering the movements is going to give you way more bang for your buck as a beginner, or if you haven't trained in a while, or even if you've been training for a long time and you're incorporating a new movement. Could even be
100%.
valuable if you've been doing heavy back squats for a while and then you do lighter for a day.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, some very advanced athletes I've seen do just a day where they do 1x20 with a super light weight.
Yeah.
And they're focused on nailing their positions and having a good tempo and being controlled the entire time, practicing their breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And those sessions can be super beneficial. Even those are the sessions that you're not loading the barbell super heavy, but you're getting the proper work in, you're making sure that you're doing the right stuff. It's good for your body.
And
And
I think progress comes in many forms. You know, it's
Yeah.
not only if you're only looking at weight going up as progress, you're looking at your program wrong. You know,
Correct.
so better technique, your recovery is getting better. You know, recovery every single week. Oh, I'm not as sore from that workout or something. You're
Mhm.
like, all right, I'm doing that well. Or maybe every single workout that week was an A+ workout. You're like, all right, I'm on something. You know, I'm doing pretty well. That progress doesn't only come in form. You know, or sorry,
It's true.
Weight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speed.
It comes
Maybe your
into
lifts are
form.
going up faster.
Exactly,
Same
you
weight,
know.
faster reps.
It could come in reps. You know,
Yep.
you're doing more
More
reps.
reps, yeah.
Yeah, it comes in many, many forms. So don't only focus on, oh, I'm going up in weight every week. And like you said too, I would rather start somebody body weight and have it be too easy for them on day one than give them weight and they're all over the place and they can't. And now how am I going to progress next week?
Where do you
we got to
progress from
regress
there?
next
Yeah,
week.
no,
You know,
yeah,
we have to
regress.
lighten everything. So yeah, you want to start easier than way too hard in the beginning of a program. The intensity can always go up as the weeks go on, but
But it can't if you're injured.
exactly. That's
That's right.
That's a big
Yep.
one too. 100%.
Yep. That is true. It also brings us to, well, maybe not directly, but outcome versus process goals. I think we missed. We guys discussed we all discussed that last week too. So that's looking at your outcome goal might be to bench 25 pounds more. Your process goal might be to make sure your nutrition's on point every day. You're getting enough protein each day, getting your carbs, getting your fats, and you're getting to the gym, obviously, for your workouts every day. You're programming properly. You're recovering, you're sleeping, etc. But you need to break down all your goals into an outcome that you want to achieve, and then a process that you need to do on a daily basis, hourly basis, weekly basis, etc. Right?
Yeah. And now that's when your outcome goal. All right. So for a sport like powerlifting, it's very easy. It's simple. You know, you lift your weights. But as you know, Rob, as somebody who's a runner who does weight training to hopefully, you know, stay healthy and have better performances as a runner, how do you you know, set your goals in the gym based on that when your performance is not with weights? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, we can go from my perspective. The tougher thing with me is that ideally I would weight train at one time of day and I would run at a different time of day. You know, like if I could run at night and weight train in the morning, the separation is much better for my goal of getting faster, but also maintaining and building strength, right? Because now due to life, work, job, kids, it's like I pretty much tend to do them right next to each other. Like I usually either run right before I lift or I lift right before I run. Which is not ideal because, you know, lifting, you're trying to get the strength adaptations, maybe some endurance adaptations. And then I would want to eat a meal and then recover and then run later so I can work more towards endurance adaptations. But yeah,
life.
Yeah. The biggest thing is when can you train when it comes down to it? Like you can't always optimize everything. So I can't really optimize that. So I just think about, am I hitting my big movement patterns every day? Am I pushing my strength? Because I'm trying to maintain as much strength as possible while also my main goal right now is to increase my speed and endurance. Like I'd like to get back down to maybe 5:30 a mile for 3 miles. Maybe if I can get my mile back down under 5 minutes, that'd be amazing. But I don't know that I can get, maybe I can, but we'll see. I don't like to leave anything off the table, but I don't know. I'm kind of old. I'm not that old, but I'm kind of old, you know? I don't know. I don't know what's possible.
I don't see you as an old guy.
Well, I appreciate that. I try not to look or act like an old guy, but like, you know, certain things, like I feel like I used to recover faster. Like sometimes I'll run like 9 miles and I'm like, my knee kind of feels off. And it's like, that used to not happen. My knees never felt off. But luckily it only happens at like high volume, like 8 or 9 miles is a lot of miles, especially if it's at a decent pace. But I'm also, when I'm strength training, I'm also thinking about stuff like that. Like running is very, like very shallow. Like there's a lot of pressure that goes on your legs and a lot of muscular work, but like your joints don't move in a very deep range of motion. So like, it's like, all right, I need to do some exercises where I'm hitting that full knee flexion because that makes my knees feel stronger and better. And it also feels like it helps them recover better from tough runs. So like sometimes when I'm done with a tough run, the first thing I think about is like, I need to fully flex my knees. Like I need to get into a couch stretch, child's pose, or like I could just tell they're like craving that full knee flexion.
I like that perspective.
It's like what am I missing in one of my main goals? So those are the big things that are missing, like deep end range.
What am I missing and what are my main goals? All right, I like that. I like that answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I hope I covered it all. I feel like I missed part of your question in there, but yeah.
Oh yeah, just kind of like how, you know, which might not apply to everybody. Like maybe you just go into the gym. Some people who are mainly focused on running and they, you know, just do a routine. You know, they do a routine because they like the routine and they find that it works well for them. But I know that you're a guy who likes to set goals in terms of training. So how do you decide? I know you've been doing a lot of energy system stuff recently. Like how do you decide what it is that you're going to chase after in a given program?
Yeah, gotcha.
In the weight room, in the gym.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to some extent, it's like I want to get faster running, but I also think about like the reason I like doing something more like a Spartan, or like I even think I like these high rocks. I might want to get into that next. But it's like I want to be fast, but I don't want to lose my power and explosiveness. And like, I like to keep certain standards for that. So it's more like that thought. Like, well, as much as my main goal is to get faster running, I'm also like, you know, am I powerful? Can I jump high? Can I jump far? And like, I still want to be able to jump bar.
Mhm.
And I also think when it comes to certain like Spartan events or those events, you need power when you get to these obstacles. Like,
Absolutely.
I need to be able to jump really far. I need to be able to jump high. I need to have really good grip strength. I need to be able to move across. The more explosive and quick I am, the quicker I can get the obstacles done, which gets me back to running, which is really what wins the race. Like,
Yeah.
so I weigh that stuff out. The energy systems training lately has been more like, okay, I want to build more type 2 muscle fibers so I can hopefully be more explosive and get more speed.
Right.
And also partially like, I mean, I also had a blast in the summer games. I didn't like my triple broad jump. I want to triple broad jump further and stuff like that. So I'm like, it's just, it's like that balancing of like, I want this, but like, I still kind of want this. And as much as this is more important, I'm not abandoning this. Like I still need that stuff. And I'm also like a coach and I own a gym and I'm like, I mean, I can't be soft. I have to be able to do a lot of cool shit.
Can't be.
Yeah. It's just like, can't be the way. Well, I won't have it. I'm not going to let it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys can get something useful out of that. But that's generally my.
No, I think it is a good
that.
perspective.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, and I also think another way, I've had the same kind of thing in my own life where it's like, I really love building muscle, but I also love being really strong. And sometimes they don't always come together. When you're trying to be peak strength, you are wasting a lot on, high volume stuff. You want to be 100% in your recovery. And when you're lifting really heavy, you need all of it to be focused there. When you're doing all that extra work, it kind of taxes.
Your strength.
So I 4 weeks of doing like a peak block or something, I'm sitting here like, man, I really just want to get a nice pump right now or something. But like, I know what it's going to do. I have to tell myself, in the past, I would have done extra stuff and wrecked my peak, but I have to tell myself now, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, this is my goal. I am here to hit APR. And then I'll be right back to it. 4 weeks is necessarily not a lot. I'm still training. I'm still lifting. But the volume is not very high. But I'm telling myself, hey, I'll be back to all that volume in 4 weeks right now. I'm not going to lose the muscle I have gained. It's going to be here when I get back to the volume after this peak is over. And as I've done that, as I've gotten more into my training like that, I actually really enjoy the peak blocks because I take my first few blocks of very intense, a lot of volume, and I get those pumps out. And then I start missing going really, really heavy. And so I give myself.
I was about to ask how you cycle that, but so you typically like 4 weeks with that? Like 4 weeks pump or like 8 weeks pump and then 8 weeks like strength? Or
what I'm currently planning right now is the first 4 weeks is just volumizing. So I'm keeping all my 4 days, I have certain percentages on all my exercise, my main compound moves. And then I just have like my accessories, like a incline dumbbell press or something, just with a set weight. And then I'm increasing my sets. But like close grip bench or squats, deadlifts, all that, I have a certain percentage. It's about like 60 or 65%. And I keep that the same all 4 weeks. Now I'm adding a set every week. So I'm volumizing, just adding a ton of volume. So I'm going through an accumulation phase. I'm just trying to accumulate as much volume as possible, increase my workload as much as I can, so that for my next block, I'm going to start increasing intensity. And volume won't be increasing as much, but I'll still be increasing volume. But I'm more focused on weight now as I go through that second block. Then when I get to my third block, volume's out the window. I'm dropping my volume as the week goes on, and I'm increasing my weights as I go, and then I'm ready to peak right at the end of it. But that way I'm keeping that balance because, like I said, I have two things that I really love doing, but they, bigger muscles definitely help with more strength. But when you're trying to be as strong as possible, you obviously need to keep fatigue in mind, so that's how I've been able to balance over the years of how can I get stronger while, going, hey, mind, you're all right, man. You're not going to lose the muscle. It's going to be there still at the end, and you'll get right back to it.
You always need to talk to yourself like that when you're changing and working through multiple goals. But, and when you go into this level of volume that you're going for, do you have any thought to like how much time do I have to work out? Or is it just like, I don't care how long it takes. I've got the time.
I do. I typically always have enough time. Like my workouts really don't span over 2 hours for the most part, even in that scenario, like.
I was curious, but you kind of peak at 2 hours maybe, but I was like, all right, he's starting to add volume. I'm already seeing this going past an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half. And I'm just like, I don't have that kind of time, but you can hit 2 hours and hit a 2 hour block work.
Exactly. Like I don't know how long it'll take by the end, but I'm not seeing it being any more than 2.5 hours. I don't see it really being any more than 2. But like, for example, day one, it would be like close grip bench for 3 sets of 10 with maybe some overhead press after, barbell overhead press, and then some, I'll do some dumbbell flat press along with that, and then some like arm work and stuff. And that workout was maybe an hour and 15, simply because the weight is not that heavy.
Yep.
So I'm able, I don't
Yeah.
need as much rest. I'm getting through it, but I'm also planning for week 4. You know, I'm seeing my week 1,
Sure.
but I'm knowing where I want to be in week 4. How long is week 4 going to take? You know, so,
Yeah.
my day 2, like my lower body days, yesterday was some squats and close grip deficit deads, quad extensions, and then side plank Copenhagen's and some calf raises, which are supersetted.
Mhm.
But when I say to myself, all right, week 1, 3 sets of 8 on squats, 3 sets of 10 on the deadlifts, I'm like, it's not going to take me that long. But I know in week 4,
That's the question.
it's going to be 6 sets of 8, 6 sets of 10. Like it's a lot.
That's
you
a lot
know,
of
and
work.
That's a lot.
It's
of
a
work.
lot of
Yeah.
work. So, and that's why also there's not many accessories in there either. It's just
Yep.
quad extensions and then some core and adductor work after, because by week 4, I'm going to be doing so much volume and everything that I don't need any accessories after. There's no need for the accessories.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at my program, is like, here's my week 1 and here's where I'm going to be in week 4. Does this look realistic? You know, and is this a realistic goal? And as my weeks go, like yesterday was 4 sets. I go, yeah, I can handle 2 more. It's going to push me, but that's where I want to be on week 4. I want to be pushing myself pretty hard with that
Yeah.
volume. So yeah, that's how I attack it. And for some reason, it really, week 1 obviously is a little bit lower on time scale, but it's not much farther like week 4 with how long I take through my workouts. You know, you kind of get into that groove. And that's the awesome part about that accumulation phase, is week 1, you're dragging. You know, I came right off a peak block where I am doing sets of 2 and 1, where I am like just doing one hard set and I'm taking 5 minutes and not doing anything after, you know, doing one more set. Like it's so low in volume. And, I come back to this and now I'm doing 3 sets of 8 in 15, 20 minutes. And I'm, you know, my body's like, holy shit, what's going on? You know, it's like, so, that's the awesome part as the weeks go through. By week 4, my body's used to this accumulation, all this volume that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm hammering out a lot faster. You know, my body is moving like a well-oiled machine at that point, you know? So, that's again, more progress as you see, it's another form. My weight's staying the same. I'm adding volume, but every single week I am
The total
not
amount
as
of weight you're
gassed.
lifting is massively growing. Too,
Exactly.
though.
And I'm not as gassed doing it. You know, I'm like, wow, I did a whole nother set this week, but I feel way better than I did last
week
week.
1. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's the way I attack that's how I view my training right there, is see my week 1, is my week 4 realistic? You know, I go, that might not be realistic. Maybe I need to either cut my loads down or cut my volume down. But that's the way I view my training when it comes to that. But, yeah, when you have multiple goals, I think that's an important thing to talk about too, is like having multiple goals like that. It's, I have maybe a body weight goal, maybe, you know, a diet goal or something that probably coincides with each other. But when you have a main goal of maybe being stronger and, you know, maybe I want to lose some weight. All right, I'm losing some weight, but my strength is kind of going down right now.
That's usually how it's going to go.
That sub goal is messing with your main goal, you know? So you have to really go, what is my main goal? And are these sub goals going to affect my main goal, or are they affecting them during the program? You know, and then you have to be ready to, acclimate as your program gets going in that.
Going back to a point you just made about, you know, so you said 3 sets of 8 where you're doing the same weight, and then by the end you're trying to progress to 6 sets of 8. If it's feeling really good week 2 to 3, 4, do you ever get like hungry for like, what if I just bump up this weight? Or do you,
so
you know?
I'll take last week, for example. I'm on week 2 right now. Yesterday was week 2, day 2. It was my squat session. So I did 4 sets of 8 with 325 and then snatch grip deficit deadlifts with 300. So those were my 2 weights and it felt great yesterday. Week 1, day 2, I did 265 on squats. Mind you, I maxed out the Thursday prior. So 4 days in
Still
between, somewhere in there. So my body was still really feeling it. But week 1, day 2, I did 265 for 3 sets of 8, and I was like, all right, I'm good. Like I had 325 in mind, but it was not going to happen that day. And I also did 265 on the snatch grip deadlifts too. But then I come in this week, a whole nother week removed, my recovery, my body's feeling really good. I upped it up to the weight that I wanted originally, still added an extra set, and then I went with the 300 on that. So I increased both of my weights and the volume I was doing, and it felt great yesterday. I'm definitely a bit sore today and stuff, but let's say next week I get to it and I'm doing my, 5 sets on it all. and I'm getting through it. I'm like, damn, this is moving pretty easy here. I might potentially think about throwing 10, 15 pounds on the next week. But I also have to say to myself, I am adding volume every single week because of that extra set that I'm doing. So even if it feels good week 3, I'm still getting another set on that week 4. And it's a learning moment. Maybe I get to my week 4 and I was like, oh, that was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I'll know for next time.
You adapt the next phase. Exactly.
I'll go, all right, yeah, I know what I can do different next time, or maybe I can increase that. But what I did yesterday, I sit there and I go, all right, both dead squats and deadlifts were done. And I said, I think 2 more sets on each of those is going to push me, but it's realistic. I can get through that. And that's what I say to myself as I get there. And to your question, if I get to week 4 and somehow it's just flying faster than what I thought it was gonna, it's a learning experience. Like you said, all right, hey man, I was increasing my volume. I did my goal. That was my goal for the program, is increase my volume every week. I went up a few thousand pounds, every single week, and I did what I had to do, move on to the next phase, keep the program rolling. And the next time I run through that program,
you'll up the weight a little bit.
I attack it different,
Yeah, for those people at home, an extra set of 8 with, you said 300 pounds on that snap, like that's Kyle's adding 2,400 pounds to that session.
Exactly.
So, that's kind of
significant jump.
Yeah, that's a big jump. Probably, a little bit more for me than it would be for you, but
well, and the more advanced side of it is like the fatigue, and there's definitely multiple different kinds of fatigue, but you have your muscular fatigue. I even say like joint, like
nervous system fatigue, joint fatigue,
CNS for sure, your central nervous system. And central nervous system for me, really, it always comes with more weight. The more weight I'm doing, the more power I have to push through, the more I feel that fatigue. Week 1 to 1.5, where I'm at right now, the central nervous CNS fatigue, right out the window. I've been feeling really, really strong every single workout. And really, it just comes down to my muscular recovery. Am I recovering enough? And that's how I've been feeling really, really strong in this accumulation phase. In that sense of CNS fatigue is really not even a factor at this point. So that's one of the important things. When you're first starting a program, I don't want you to really start thinking about all these different types of fatigue. You just want to know, am I feeling good for my next workout? Is this effective? Is what I'm doing, can I progress every week?
I think that whole thing had a really good point that, like, one, you're tracking things. So this is like a big thing to think about when you're doing a program and when you're playing. Like, you're tracking what you're lifting, how much you're lifting, how many sets you're doing, how your body feels. You're paying attention to how you're sleeping, to how you're recovering. And like, these are all, if you're not writing anything down and you're really just guessing everything, like we need to sit down, you need to track, you need to have either a notepad or an app or whatever you need. But like, this is how you make progress in anything in life, is you track where you are now, where you're going, and all the in-between factors.
Exactly.
And so Kyle's basically explaining how he's constantly doing this. He's constantly evaluating how he felt on his sets, how fast they moved, how much weight he lifted, whether he should increase his weight. And putting that all together, over time, you start to learn more about yourself, and you start to learn how to progress yourself better.
Exactly.
And keep getting more towards your goal. But,
exactly.
I think for the people at home, that's the key thing to remember, is like
100%
tracking and
track everything.
Track everything. Yeah. The more you track, the more you can break down what you need to change next time. Right?
And you might sit there
and
go,
don't change everything, but track everything.
Exactly. Man, I don't want to track everything. I want to track my, and how much do you really want? How bad do you want that goal?
Exactly.
How like that's the thing. I was like that a few years ago. I was like, I don't need to do the food, all that stuff. And then once I started doing it, I'm like, oh wow, this is actually pretty neat. Like, I actually have more control of what I'm doing, and that it helps your programming out significantly, because now you're like, all right, I've been doing things a certain way. I'm able to program a certain way for myself, how I'm doing right now. And you're able to evolve your programming the more you do it. You're able to understand yourself, understand your clients, the more that you evolve.
Your lifts are going to be more consistent now, especially if your calories are consistent, your sleep is consistent, all this stuff. It's not like you're going to come in, you're not going to have a weekday once a week or a weekday every, it's like, if something's off, you're like, okay, this is my program. Everything else is on point. I'm sleeping, I'm eating properly, I'm doing this. So it's got to be a program thing or some sort of outside of training stressor.
100%. And that's the one thing you learn the more that you track everything, like you just said, when you realize, oh, sleep was good, diet was good, everything was good, programming, something must be wrong right now. And now once you start feeling that, and not only for yourself, but maybe if you're a coach out there with your clients, you start to feel that with them, where you're like week 2 in a program and something's off, oh, they slept well, they're eating well. all right, might be doing something wrong here, you know,
Totally.
and then you adapt on that too.
Yeah.
That's
Or-
why tracking is so important.
Yes. And also on that note, why talking to and listening and having a relationship with your clients is important,
Yes.
because you start to think like, okay, they're normally progressing well. They're normally feeling good. Why is this person having more issues, more pain, or not progressing, or they're looking weaker? Like, then sometimes it's just, I need to have a conversation with you. Like, hey, what's going on in your life right now? What are you doing? Like, and you find out, oh, they're not sleeping as much because they're stressed out, or they got some new thing going on at work and they're taking on a new project. And it's like, oh, so we need to stop pushing you right now. This is a maintenance time. You're not going to the next level. Same thing applies to yourself. Like, okay, my life is very stressful right now. Something just went on. Maybe you got a death in the family, and like now you're dealing with all kinds of crazy. Like, you don't need to progress. You still should get into the gym for your mental health and to maintain. But maybe it's not a time to push and try to get.
Just have a quality workout of maybe maintaining what you have.
Exactly.
And that's another point that we've talked about is maybe you're doing this programming thing for 6 months now, and all you're getting is injuries, regression, maybe problems. Maybe it's time to potentially look for a coach.
Yes.
You know, and now the things that you've learned on your own is. All right, I've learned some do's and don'ts, but now when you get a coach and your coach is making you programs, you start to see was my coach doing? What was I doing that he's doing, or what was I doing differently that he's doing now and is working for me now?
Or she.
And you learn the differences in your own training and stuff like that with your own programming, and you just become better in all facets of it. You know, absolutely.
Always learning. How about you? What are you doing right now in your training? Or what's your mindset and your framing for what you're doing? It would be helpful for them to hear too. Winter's here. Your speed training has ended.
Yeah.
The winter arc.
Olympic lift time.
Yeah. Just I go into the gym, and my first thought is I want to apply some pressure to myself. So lately, I'm just trying to be doing stuff that's hard. Hit an Olympic lift, clean snatches, jerks, whatever. Hit a compound movement, squats, reverse lunges, bench press, whatever it's going to be that day. And then I'll just write up something random. I'm in a randomness phase, you know, whereas
those can be fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, some days I'm just like, I'm going to do curls until I'm going to blast curls until I feel like my arms are going to fall off. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to drink a glass of orange juice and go to sleep.
Hell yeah.
Because I really do enjoy the training. But it's nothing too complex, to be honest.
Just having fun right now.
Yeah.
That's totally,
having fun.
that's totally okay.
Yeah,
you saw me doing I want to see how fast I could do 10 rope climbs last week.
Oh, yeah?
So it's
Nice.
like it's like stuff
That
like
sounds
that.
fun as hell. I want to try that.
But I know that try it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. On Monday, I did monkey bars until my hands with a weighted vest until my hands basically told me, no, you're not going to do this anymore.
They do that on those monkey bars.
That's really, it's kind of taking a mentality of like, I want to apply pressure to myself. I want to do things that are hard. I want to do things that maybe I don't normally do every single time I step in the gym. That's a little bit more intuitive, maybe a little bit more advanced, but maybe that'll work for some people as well.
Yeah.
I've been training for a long time. I've just, my mobility is really good. I feel good. Joints are healthy. So I feel like a reward that I've gained from focusing on all that stuff for a long time is that now I can kind of just take a little while to, I'm going to give myself a mental break. I'm still going to be locked in on, I love my Olympic lifting. I love having a nice big bench press, but I want to experience something a little bit different. And, and that's like I was saying at the beginning, it's like, you get a different experience at every gym you're going to go to, every coach that you have. So do something that you like, it's some people go to CrossFit workouts where they train and they're going to have rhabdo by the end and they're going to throw up and they're going to feel shot for 4 days. Personally, I don't like that, but if you like that, then to each their own. Yeah. But at least get educated on a couple different styles of training, mess around with some stuff, see what's fun, see what's hard, see how different stuff makes you feel. I'll tell you after since I started doing the weighted vest monkey bars, I mean, I feel like my hands have gotten more meaty. I feel like my shoulders have blown up. Yeah. So I learn and I live.
Yeah.
That's like what we talked about in the first podcast, I think, is just like play.
Yeah,
You know,
play.
it's just
That's
sometimes you just you get so in tune with what you're doing, you know, and it's like have 2 weeks of just something you haven't done. You
Yep.
know, you just throw a curveball at your body, you know, and it's
That's
just
it.
like, oh man, this is great, you know, or it doesn't have to be a curveball, just crazy arm sets or something, you know, something that you're just like, oh man, that felt great. You know, I had fun doing that. You
something
know,
that pulls you. You just feel like I need to try this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, you know, I would say when I'm super locked in, or when I'm following a program with a very specific goal, like when I wanted to clean 315, I did not deviate from, it was a 20-week program where I was like, week 19, I'm going to max my bench and my front squat. And then I got clean and snatch the next week. I hit PRs on all of them. It was freaking awesome. But that it does take a big mental toll to be locked in for 20 weeks straight, doing the exact amount of reps, sets, exercises that are prescribed. So I do think every once in a while it's good to, you know, take a break and have some fun. It doesn't get more simple than a barbell bicep curl, and I think that's one of the best movements on the entire planet for me, in my opinion. I've had small biceps for a while, and I've been trying to blow them up lately. So yeah, that's just how it goes.
Sometimes new goals come out of those play periods too. You're always like, oh, I can't do this. I want to get this done, and then you start trying.
Well, like you said too, being not locked on to a certain program for so long it's a lot. You know, it takes a lot of discipline and dedication to get there. So I like we talked about earlier, you have to look at that program framework and go, am I able to do this? Is this realistic? You know, am I in the spot to be dialed in for this long and get to this goal? You know, and that's, you know, you have to know, can I actually execute this program? And that's like we said, you know, what was that?
I was saying, are you excited about it? Because that's part of what gets you through something like that. You're excited to hit that goal, and you're like, yes, I want to do this. That's the only way you're getting through a 20-week program. You want to hit that 315 bad.
Yeah.
And you're pretty excited about it.
And you know what? And the day came, and I failed it 3 times.
Oof.
And then I played. You guys ever hear the Triple H theme song? The game.
I have.
Dude, blasting in the headphones, like I'm walking up to the bar.
Locked in.
I'm in the gym by myself, and I was like, I'm gonna, no matter what, I'm getting under this. I'm getting under this, and I got under it, powered it up, and I said, oh, thank God. So the past 20 weeks was worth it, because I was like, before that, I was at like, I think the most that I had ever hit was 300, and 315 clean is big. That's like, and so that was a goal. Yeah, that was a goal for me. And you know, it was one of those things where like I said, it's mentally, emotionally draining, where like once I don't really drop the bar, I kind of slammed it down because I was excited, but I was just like
screaming.
I'm not a screamer, I will say that, but I was not in, like, my vision was a little bit blurry, so I had to like take a knee, but it was like emotional, not to the point where I was gonna cry, but like, you know, I was like, oh my God, that was it. Like it took a lot out of me. You know, you fail it 3 times, and then you got to get all amped up for this, which I don't really like getting too amped up when I lift. But when it's the culmination of a 20-week lock-in, you know, then
you want to hit that goal.
You're leaving everything out there at that moment. You know, you leave it all out there. Yeah,
it's good. You knew. Well, you know yourself, and we're aware enough of how to get yourself hyped up, though, to get it done.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was time to play. It's time to play the game. That's what Triple H said.
I'm going all in.
Yeah.
And you went all in.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Okay. I think we covered a lot here, though.
Well, I think one more thing, too. Like, we were talking about the minimum effective dose of everything. Yeah, of course. I was about to
say, what are the little things we need to get to? Minimum effective dose.
I think that, like we were talking about, definitely starting off nice and easy. But one of the reasons, maybe your muscles be able to handle it, but connective tissues definitely cannot adapt fast enough. Especially if you start off way too hot, you know. So it not even necessarily for your muscles to start off slow. It's to get your tendons, ligaments, joints, everything getting that feel, you know, getting accumulated to what you're doing. Because sometimes you start off way too hot, and maybe you're like, this is no problem, and then by week 2 you got tendonitis already. You know, something flares up. Now your program's out the window. You know, that injury's in there, and the last thing you want is an injury. And that's always going to slow down getting to your goal. So that's another reason why you should start slower. Like I know we talked about injuries a little bit, but also just like the overuse style injuries too that happen if you start off way too hot. With that.
Very true. Yep. Although a little different than minimum effective dose, but I still like that. Minimum effective dose would be what's the least amount of work we can do to still hit your goal. So it might be a lot of work, but what's the least you can do because that's to minimize that same risk.
Exactly.
Connective tissue and all
and
that.
I find that's a great way also to, if you're in a phase where you're focusing on something different, to maintain, your other qualities.
Yes.
So if you're in a heavy strength phase, then hit the minimum effective dose of mobility.
Yes.
But always have it in there, be concurrent, be, always trying to be well balanced. But, if you're spending an hour 15 on strength, you don't have that 30, 40 minutes that you might want to spend on mobility in a phase where you're totally focused on, establishing that, or, whether you're doing shoulder stability exercises or stuff like that. Be mindful of just, maybe it could only be one work set. Nobody says you have to do 3 sets of everything.
It's true.
Right.
Nobody said,
A lot of times you don't.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't. I think one of the most effective things, like I mentioned before, the 1x20, or for hypertrophy, one of my favorite things to do is a 2 sets of 10. And I find that to be very effective, at least for me, and then trying to progress by increasing load.
One little tip too, like the 1x20, it's a great way too, when we were talking about fatigue with the CNS fatigue and all, 20 reps is forcing you to go so much lighter. So it's pretty hard to actually tax your CNS in that sense with that. And that's why, like in my program, I have that close grip deficit snatch deadlift there. Sorry, deficit, I got them all. But that's why I have that deadlift variation in there, because it's forcing me to go so much lighter, because sometimes everyone has that problem. They get into the gym and they're like, I feel great today. I'm going to go 20 pounds heavier, and then all of a sudden that fatigue starts overlapping every week. And then you're in the gutter by that 4th week where you want to be out of the gutter. So putting variations into your training, a set of 20 different things that are going to force you to go lighter. Those are also great ways to throw little things in, little neat tricks that you can do with your programming.
I've heard that called like same but different. I kind of like that terminology. Like it's like you want a deadlift, but you're changing it to a snatch grip, deficit deadlift, because you're going to have to be lighter. It's not going to be as much CNS fatigue, but you're still practicing your deadlift pattern and your mechanics and stuff like that.
Very smart. Very
same
smart.
but different. Yeah.
Did you pick up that tidbit from anywhere in specific?
Australian strength coach on like YouTube, Instagram, Sebastian Orb, I think his name is.
I like that. I actually haven't really thought of that before.
You'll have check him out. He's a really good one too. He trains Thor, world's strongest man, heaviest deadlift.
I gotcha. Thor Bjornsson.
But yeah, he
boxer.
He's a good one. Yeah, everything. But that was I was like, that sounds pretty interesting, because at first when I hear those words, I'm like, that sounds kind of terrible. But then I did it, and I'm like, oh, I actually like this. It's a good variation, for sure. But yeah, that's variations. It doesn't have to even be the exercise. 1 set of 20, something like that.
That's
if you're
variation.
absolutely gassed, your central nervous system, everything is just, your body's cooked, recovery, you need it. But I want to get in the gym. 1 set of 20. You're gonna feel that stimulus. But it's almost more of a recovery set in that sense, even though maybe during the 20 reps, you don't feel it. But afterwards, you're like, all right, I got some body moving, blood flowing, variations.
Oh, yes. I mean, there's infinite variations. I don't know about you guys. The reason I add variations is just for fun and to keep things fresh. But how many good movements, like I talked about at the beginning, the fundamental movement patterns, there's a little bit more good movements than the fundamental movement patterns, but there is thousands and thousands of exercises that you can do, variations of exercises you do in the gym. So when you think of, I'm going to incorporate this exercise, think, what is it a variation of? How does it fit my movement patterns? Think, what is the goal? Like you said, in a hypertrophy phase, you're doing a little bit more close grip. You're not trying to tax the CNS. You're doing snatch grip. So I think that's a great way to think about rotating your exercises, because you don't necessarily have to rotate too much. I do it for the purpose of keeping things fun and fresh. Sometimes you're, working a different grip on something can do, whether you want to increase the emphasis on a shoulder or increase the emphasis on a back in certain movements, but how many good movements is there really? Not that many. I mean, and then you just build off of them. You build off of them. People out there, you don't have to get creative. We get creative sometimes, but most of the things we've done have been done before.
Exactly.
And they're all out there. So if you're feeling like you need some kind of switch up in your training, think, all right, so I don't want to, I've been doing lunges for 10 weeks. I don't want to do lunges anymore. I'm sure there's about 150 variations of lunges that that you can do, or a split squat, or a single legs, or a pistol squat.
RFE split squat, pistol squat, step down.
Which it's all a single leg squat pattern. Lunge is a little bit different because you're going from one into the next. So that should be
walking lunge. Yeah. But still,
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing, but different.
One little thing I always do for myself, but whatever the exercise is, I like to do like 2 deviations away. So like if it's a bench press, I like to stay within 2. So like if it's a bench press, I'm going to do close grip. That would be like 1 deviation away, or like deadlift, snatch grip, and then a deficit. So like those are 2 deviations away.
Oh, so like 2 deviations would be
variables,
like a close grip tempo.
Right, exactly. But once you start getting like 3 or 4 away from it, now you're like
close grip, pause, single arm.
Exactly.
With the band.
You I guess it depends on your goal, but if your goal is to increase your bench press and you're in like that hypertrophy phase, it's like stay within 2 deviations, because now you're doing a close grip. It's not bench press. It's something that you maybe aren't totally used to. You're building up some triceps, or a tempo, add a tempo in there, right? Something like that. But once you start getting too far away, you're not really focused on the bench press anymore. You're doing so much that it's taking away from what you're actually trying to do.
You're leaving that keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Rule. Keep it simple.
Make
stupid.
1 or 2 variations away from the normal move that you're trying to progress, and hammer that for a while. Get really good at those, and then when you come back to what you were doing, hammer those again, and all of a sudden the gains you made from that variation are going to flow right into what you had. And you're building right back up.
Usually those variations are to address a weakness or something you have, right? Like what's my weakness in this lift?
Yeah.
Let's go into a variation that addresses that weakness.
So I understand like you got the West Side method of like, but they do some crazy stuff. We're talking like 6 deviations of like, I'm doing a buffalo bar, good morning to a box with bands and chains and a guy screaming in my face, slapping me. It's like, that's, you don't have to do all that. It's,
Right.
But,
right. Yeah. You'll see that stuff, and it worked for them, that style, but like, that can be very overwhelming about the internet and stuff like that. If you're making
specific person that works for.
just keep it simple. Have variation in your training, but sometimes you'll see some things that are very out there, maybe for extremely advanced people or something that it's out there.
Yeah.
But keep it simple. Keep it simple with what you're doing. Absolutely. It's going to keep your mind straight, and your training straight before all of a sudden you spend 30 minutes trying to set up an exexercise, and then you're like, oh,
or trying to remember even what were you doing? What was I going to do today? I can't even remember how to do this move.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, guys. I think,
maybe how long we've been going.
It's been a solid hour already.
Oh, nice.
I mean,
maybe
we just fly through things.
A basic overview, pretty much like just
that's what I was thinking.
Key
Exactly what I was thinking for the end. So maybe we'll give you guys a quick little summary. We're just going to run through the basic points. You guys, please jump in if I miss anything. But first and foremost, if you're trying to frame a program, you're thinking, where am I now and where am I going? Right? You need to think about your training experience. When you trained last, how your body's feeling, your age and lifestyle, how you're going to be able to sleep and eat, and what sort of stresses you'll have during this training phase or cycle of training during the program, how your joints are feeling, how healthy your joints are, and any injuries you need to factor in, how much time you have to train during the week, and your equipment and training space. These are most of your, where are you now, and like what's your current situation. And then what's the goal? So what's the big goal that you're trying to accomplish in this training program? And also what's your big overarching goal? So like what's most important to you that is more important maybe than this specific training cycle? And then what are the sub goals? So you've got your main goal with your training cycle and then your sub goals that are underneath that. Mindset are these goals important to you? They need to be, otherwise why are you doing them? Because you're obviously not going to stick to your plan if they're not important to you. But you need to frame your mind around why these things are important. And then think about your outcome versus process goals. So what are the steps you need to take to achieve the goals in the program you're planning? And always make sure you have something fun in there too. I think, did I cover most of that, guys?
Yeah.
Good summary.
And then just those quick things to keep in mind, minimum effective dose.
Yes.
Keep it simple. Start easy.
Yeah.
Build your intensity as you go. And can you execute it? Is it realistic? Is it going to get you to the goal that you want?
Yes.
And step in the gym.
And step in the gym.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's always step one is your first step in the gym.
Yes.
You know?
Get up and get in there. And be malleable, be adaptable, realize
Big time.
you might not be able to do things exactly the way you want to that day. However, if that's happening every week, you either messed up on your program or you need to fix some other factors in your life to get this done. Anyway, I hope you guys pulled some tidbits away that are useful for you. But thanks a lot for listening. Subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yep. We'd love to hear you comment as well. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear those so we can answer them in any future podcast. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
See you guys.